many others have accused Denisha Carter of. Now, if you're unaware of who Denisha Carter is an influencer who has approximately 2 million followers on TikTok. And it also states on her famous birthday that she is an Instagram star, which is really interesting to me because Denisha Carter has about 150,000 followers on Instagram. Her biggest platform is TikTok. The majority of people who know Denisha Carter know her from TikTok. She rose to fame in the 2020s when she gained popularity with her socio-political takes. But there was one thing that was different about Denisha Carter. A lot of people believed that Denisha Carter wasn't a real person. They believed that Denisha Carter was AI.
I also offer, you do not have to suspend reality to be inclusive, and differences do not inherently mean better or worse.
From her monotone voice to her blue eyes and dark-skinned complexion, Denisha Carter had all the aesthetics of your typical Instagram baddie, but with the modesty of your local Karen. Now, according to her famous birthdays profile, and honestly, I'm saying take this with a grain of salt, Denisha Carter states that she was born and raised in Egypt. Denisha Carter also has a YouTube account that has over 14,000 subscribers, a Twitter account with approximately 47,000 followers, an Instagram that now has, currently 188,000 followers, as well as various different other accounts we were able to find, especially this one, a Cameo account that you have to pay $250 for a personal video from Denisha Carter. I don't know who she thinks she is, but that's crazy. Like, let's keep it a buck and keep it a beam, baby, go! If I can literally speak to any cast member from RuPaul's Drag Race for less than you, like $250 is actually crazy money. I could go to a concert for like the same amount, if not less. In fact, I'm pretty sure I had tremendous seats watching Doja Cat for £180. What are you talking about? However, Denisha Carter likes to position herself as like in the upper echelon. On her LinkedIn profile, this is extremely telling. It says that her primary job on LinkedIn at this moment in time is from January 2020 to present, where she puts herself as a digital content creator on TikTok. So why did famous birthday you know what? Never mind. Then, prior to that, she was a private client advisor at Zimmerman. Before that, she was a private client advisor for Jimmy Choo. And then, prior to that, she was a sales associate for Manolo Blahnik. However, again, what it is that Denisha Carter is actually known for is her socio-political commentary videos. But with her monotone voice and her extremely pointed and kind of condescending way of speaking to the audience, she has garnered quite the popularity for a lot of people believing that she is AI. Denisha Carter actually made a video addressing the claims that people thought that she was AI, where it seems as if, to me at least, she was trying to like gaslight the audience into believing that like they were stupid for even thinking that she was AI. However, in an interview with The Verge, Denisha Carter pretty much makes it obvious that this was kind of the intention all along. This is what Denisha Carter had to say. For Denisha Carter, a TikToker who shares social commentary, speculation about whether or not she was a human started when she had just 10,000 TikTok followers. Viewers started asking if she was an android, accusing her of giving AI vibes, and even asking her to film herself doing a capture. I thought this was kind of cool, she admitted over video call. I have a very curated and specific aesthetic, she says. This includes using the same framing in every video and often the same clothes and hairstyle. Denisha also tries to stay measured and objective in her commentary, which similarly makes viewers very suspicious. Most people's TikTok videos are casual. They are not curated. They are full body shots, or at least you
Democratic Party if they will pay attention to what's going on here.
Stars in the progressive left movement drew big crowds in Colorado today.
After hosting a rally at UNC in Greeley, Senator Bernie Sanders and Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez moved on to Civic Center Park in Denver. And that's where we find 9 News reporter Rita Jock. The crowd was certainly energized tonight.
Yeah, people started showing up 3 hours in advance. A line just to get in wrapped around the entire block of Civic Center Park. And we spoke to people while they were showing up about why they came. And they said they were fed up with the current administration and that they needed to hear a message like this.
34,000 people showed up. Bernie's not running for anything. This is not an election campaign, okay? And yet, And yet there are more people attending these events than even when Bernie was doing election rallies, when he was on a ticket, when he was running in the primaries. Like, it is crazy. If the Democrats don't recognize that the people demand more from them after all of this, I don't know what to tell you. If the Democrats don't recognize that, like, this is the way to show, this is probably the last for the people that think the Democratic Party is over. I totally get where you're coming from. Okay. For the people that are saying enough is enough, we've seen this song and dance many times over. I totally understand where you're coming from. I do. Okay. I don't have any confidence in the Democratic Party. I don't think that they have any real interest. I don't think that they have any real genuine interest in improving people's lives. Okay. And I don't think that they are going to take note of what Bernie Sanders and AOC are doing right now, specifically Bernie Sanders initially. But this is basically the lifeline. This is basically the lifeline. Can you explain why leftists on Twitter are mad at Bernie in your replies lately? A couple different reasons. One, there's the contingency of MAGA communists that are upset that, you know, are saying that the real pathway towards revolutionary politics comes from being on board with fascism. Those guys are deluded. The other contingency of Twitter leftists are mad because they're mad all the time. They're Twitter leftists. And some of the reasons why they're mad are totally valid, like Bernie Sanders's, in my opinion, horrible approach to the genocide in Gaza. His lackluster approach where AOC outflanked them. Ilhan Omar and Rashid Tlaib obviously outflanked them a long time ago. There are a lot of valid reasons to criticize Bernie Sanders on the issue of foreign policy. Voting for Marco Rubio as the head of the State Department. That's horrible. There's a horrible legacy that you'll be leaving behind. Some people are perhaps a little bit cynical in the way that they analyze the situation. Understandably, I'm not discounting that there are real valid concerns here where people think that Bernie is sheepdogging the new wave of progressives back into the Democratic Party in an effort to silence any kind of revolutionary potential. And I think that is another concern that people have. How the are we cynical? Bernie is a cynical one. He doesn't give a single fuck about a single Palestinian. No, I'm saying that the anger that people feel towards Bernie Sanders with respect to his diminished response to the atrocities seen in Gaza is not a cynical criticism. I said that was the approach. Like, I understand why people are mad about that. I said that was valid. I also have genuine disagreements with Bernie Sanders on this. So the idea that all of the criticism is invalid is incorrect. I've never said that. Okay, I have not. That is something that I categorize as valid criticism. There are also cynical criticisms from people who just like are MAGA communists or whatever. You know what I mean? That's it. Having said that, I think in the interest of charitability, the way I've approached this, the way I see the situation, and if people yell at me for, I guess, quote unquote, platforming Bernie or whatever, I don't really care about that. I mean, you guys are just yelling into the wind. Who gives a shit? You're just farting into the wind. No one will even smell it. If anything, they're platforming me. Okay. It's a mutually beneficial relationship, certainly, but, you can't really platform a senator, especially one that ran for president, or one of the most popular or infamous, depending on your political perspective, congresspersons in the United States right now. So on that front, I think those people are wrong, but it doesn't really matter. I don't really pay close attention to that stuff. Having said that, in the interest of being as charitable as possible, I think this is the last lifeline for the Democrats. Under our current existing duopoly, this is the last exit ramp for the Democratic Party to dramatically restructure its attitude, to dramatically restructure its policies, to actually build a strong base of support against the Republican administration's policy agenda as they actively dismantle the administrative state. And I think the reason why they're doing this is to show both the media, mainstream media, and also show the Democratic Party that there is a different way out of this. That if they continue with their third way neoliberalism, that they will not be able to ever defend the future of this country, and they will not be able to ever win ever again. And I think I don't think it'll be successful, but I do think that that is what they're trying to do. And as I've said, one thing that they should be doing, in my opinion, if I had a magic wand, or if I could like get in Bernie's ear, you know, and I guess like add some notes, even though who the f am I, right? He's been doing this for a lot longer than I have. My note on this would be to try to mobilize around individual issues that you care about. Mobilize around, like, not just organize and not just do an awareness campaign, but instead mobilize around specific issues and get all of these people to show up for specific issues. It's fine to do these kinds of massive rallies as well, but I think it's important to also, you know, do one of these sorts of rallies outside of like the detention center where Mahmoud Khalil is being held, right? To talk about how damaging it is that the Trump administration is revoking the legal permanent residency of someone over free speech grounds. This is, and how terrifying that is for the future of this country, how fascist it is. I think that is a show of force that goes along with your agenda, that goes along with your message, that also has a little bit of momentum behind it, that could potentially strike fear in the heart of this administration. And that's my attitude on this. I think you could do a two-parter. Yeah, Daniel Denver also is of the same mind here. Bernie and Nancy should rally at Columbia against the repression. I think that's a fantastic opportunity. And I think that that's what they should be doing. And by the way, what they're doing right now, to give credit to a horrible monster, what they're doing right now is what the right has been doing with a lot of AstroTurf movements specifically. It's like what Marjorie Taylor Greene does. It's what Trump has been doing. So do more of it, but for good things, right? That's my attitude. I think it would be very smart to take all of this momentum and then try to use that discontent to make real, tangible changes. I think he's sticking to economic policies, hence the focus on oligarchy and workers. They're not going to rally around Palestine or Khalil. Yeah, except there is also a workers' rights issue there as well. Also, free speech is a fundamental value that protects workers anyway, or is supposed to protect workers in theory. What do you mean? In terms of Colombia, there is a really fantastic opportunity to drive home that message that Grant Minor, who was the leader of the Student Workers Union in Columbia University, who is Jewish himself, and also was studying, I think it was like Jewish classics, like medieval literature, specifically focusing on Jewish literature. That person was fired by Columbia for negotiating with Columbia a union contract, and also simultaneously unenrolled from Columbia in the process. It's completely ridiculous if you think that there's no workers' rights in this conversation. There's no economic focus on this conversation. Yeah, Iberian focus, Muslim, Christian, Jewish. Thank you. Yeah, Grant Minor got expelled as the head of the Columbia Student Union. He's Jewish. He was one of the student activists on campus as well. And that's part of what they use to dislodge him from this position, to undermine the potential bargaining power that the Columbia Student Labor Union has. It is completely unacceptable. So it's a lot of this noise is only as important as you make it in terms of like what people are saying online, right? It's only as important as you think it is. So there's no reason for you at any point to give it any additional power. Just remember, it's just noise, okay? So when you see people that are, you don't have to be charitable to Bernie, you know, you could be ruthlessly critical and still not be disrespectful. Wait, what? Ruthlessly critical? I think I am fairly critical of Bernie Sanders. Maybe it's just not up to your standard. I think Bernie Sanders' opinion on specifically Gaza post-October 7 is something that I have regularly criticized Bernie on, especially considering that he was leading the charge and moving the needle in the direction of anti-Zionist thought as a formative and very popular political figure in the United States of America. He was usually at the cutting edge talking about cutting funding to Israel before many other congresspersons ever even entertained the thought. He ran on it in 2016. And now he's completely outflanked by other congresspersons. It's unacceptable. But I think constantly having a back and forth over that is utterly unproductive. The reason why it is utterly unproductive is because I understand why you would want to. I understand why you would want to push Bernie into a more firmly established anti-Zionist position. But he's 800 years old. There's a likelihood that he's never going to get there. Okay. The way I talk about this is always the same. It's like you got Chuck Schumer on the one hand. So my battle is with him. My battle is not with someone who I agree with on virtually everything and have a significant disagreement on because they're not sufficiently anti-Israel. My battle is with the likes of Chuck Schumer and the Republican Party, right? It's with Elisa Slotkin. It's not with like the few people that actually do try to criticize Israel to the best of their ability, but while still being severely limited in their criticisms, and leave much more room for offering charity to this apartheid state that is doing a genocide. Chuck Schumer and Bernie have zero daylight between them, regardless of Israel and Gaza. Yeah, I mean, you're wrong. That's just, sorry, you're just insanely wrong. That is psychotic. This is Twitter brain rot. But the distinction on this doesn't even matter at the end of the day. Like, I'm doing the thing again where I'm like seemingly defending Bernie Sanders or anything like that, where it's like, I'm not. On this issue, there's no defense of Bernie Sanders. But you're wrong. And now my neurodivergence is causing me to course correct because you're just fundamentally wrong. And it's most likely a foolhardy endeavor because you've made up your mind on a delusional statement already. I used to say this about AOC as well. AOC, especially in terms of foreign policy, makes a lot of genuine mistakes, like fairly significant ones, or associating themselves with a dying movement within the party, right? We forget that, weirdly enough, that we must, one, be ruthless to systems, but be kind to people, as Michael Jamal Brooks, rest in power, used to say, okay? But we are also endlessly more cynical about people that are closest to us in ideological positioning. It's very strange. We do it all the time. I try not to do it to the best of my ability. I fall into that trap too. It feels more, I mean, it has more impact when someone you expect to know better, like Bernie Sanders, doesn't do the right thing in times where doing the right thing is absolutely necessary. Like demonstrating moral courage is absolutely a necessity. I get it. I understand why it feels different when you hear from someone that you admire, right? But if you make a statement like, there's no daylight between Bernie Sanders and Chuck Schumer, I mean, here's Chuck Schumer.
The view of Palestinians is simple. Well, the Europeans treated the Jews badly, culminating in the Holocaust, and they gave them our land as compensation. Of course, we say it's our land. The Torah says it, but they don't believe in the Torah. So, that's the reason there is not peace. They invent other reasons, but they do not believe in a Jewish state. And that is why we in America must stand strong with Israel through thick and thin. We must, because that is the...
Like, this is the minority leader in the Senate for the Democratic Party. What a psychopathic thing to say. It's just utterly unacceptable. It's completely unacceptable. What the f do you mean? Oh, the Torah. Get the f out of here. What are you talking about? Oh, the Quran told me that we need to re-implement a caliphate, and the Jews don't want that. So I say, you know, we have to support any kind of implementation of the caliphate. Like, if I were to run around saying stuff like that, you'd be like, what do you mean? What you want to do ISIS? Like, I don't understand. This is why I always say people who love Israel literally behave as though they are ISIS supporters. And because there's a lot of institutional backing for that kind of sentiment, like, it's as though so many people, especially, like, this is a Jewish American who has retained the highest office that any Jewish American has ever had. Think about that. Think about what that means, right? As a Jewish American in the highest office that any American Jew has ever had in the United States of America, you stand on the stage at AIPAC and you basically present the Jewish version of ISIS, and you associate it with Judaism, and you think that this is like a positive association. It's so psychotic. I'm sure it's positive in that crowd, but that is a psychotic thing to say out loud. Maybe it's because as a dude whose name is Hassan, living in post 9/11 America, I just cannot ever wrap my head around how people would offensively use this kind of association as a positive in broad daylight, educating Americans on this false conflation that Israel is Judaism and Judaism is Israel over and over again at a time when many Americans are waking up to the reality that maybe Israel is not great. It's so short-sighted. Even if you don't care about, like, the genocide, it's so short-sighted in terms of self-preservation. You are so dumb for doing a dual loyalty trope, but wokely, thinking that, like, Americans are not going to respond to that, thinking that Americans are not going to respond to that negatively and be like, okay, well, you taught me that this is for the Jews and it's because of the Torah. Now I'm believing a whole bunch of Nazi. Yes, I know this was in 2018, chatters. I know this is an old clip. It doesn't change the dynamic at all, and it doesn't change the reality of it. He still has these opinions. What are you talking about?
Reason, not any of these other false shibboleths why there is not peace in the Middle East. Too many people don't understand that here in America.
Do you get it? Do you understand? Schumer was already getting his wish a decade before even a single rocket was fired. To this day, Israel justifies carrying out preemptive strike and starting the 1967 war based on a partial blockade from Egypt, but Palestinians is apparently just necessary medicine. Yeah. So for people like myself, when I heard this, I was like, that's why I always try to tell people to, like, I guess, be a little bit more charitable, because I know the societal attitude towards Israel until recently. Like, a lot of you guys are very passionate. Many of you just found out about it. And I'm not talking about Palestinians, okay? They obviously were very aware of the situation for their whole lives. But, like, there are many people in the West who are just, like, very understandably passionate about the situation, because it's a genocide. It's like the worst thing you can do. It's the worst crime that you can commit against anyone. And so in that passion, you find yourself taking hardline stances and not understanding the position that certain people have, not giving people grace, and maybe even removing the nuance from the equation. And that's where that conversation takes place, where you're like, Chuck Schumer and Bernie Sanders, has no daylight between them. No, that's not true. It's just simply not true. Is Bernie Sanders' statement, are Bernie Sanders' statements on Palestine appropriate? No, of course not. Having said that, the position still, my position on this still holds. If every single congressperson had Bernie's attitude, Israel would not be able to do a genocide. Do you see what I mean? Like, imagine a world where every single congressperson was had arrived at Bernie Sanders' position on Israel, even if they were like liberal Zionists, which I think Bernie is. He's not an anti-Zionist, right? Like, there's no world in which, like, you imagine, like, when Bernie pushed for a ceasefire proposal and a bill to stop giving weapons to Israel, because he did that. Instead of having like 17 signatories, imagine if he had 100. Like, that's unimaginable. That's a world that doesn't exist right now. I wish for a future where we look to the likes of Bernie Sanders and we look to the likes of AOC as like moderates. I wish for that future, but that is not where we're at right now. So especially when you're doing politics, especially when you're mobilizing, especially when you're advocating for certain things, you have to remember what the broader audience and their attitudes look like. Having said that, I think Bernie Sanders could be saying a lot more about Israel. I think he does the classic thing where he just like hyper focuses on Benjamin Netanyahu, even though he will at times say that there is like Israel is engaging in morally repugnant behavior. Like, he will openly say that Israel is doing this, not just Benjamin Netanyahu. So he gets it to a certain degree, but I think that there is too much social conditioning, lived experience, and too much, I guess, hope in his mind as a guy who went and saw the kibbutzim, the kibbutz, to fully subscribe to the notion that is the truth, by the way. It's not even a notion. The truth that Israel is a fascist apartheid state that is currently doing a genocide. You have to recognize that. That is not, I understand why, and that's precisely why I understand why people think this is not like simply a difference that is reconcilable. This is an irreconcilable wrong that must be corrected. Okay?
In front of this crowd, these two didn't need any introduction.
In the hundreds of rallies that I have done, we have never, ever had a rally as large as this.
Thousands of people flooded the Civic Center to see Independent Senator Bernie Sanders and Democratic Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, drawn by a sense of urgency, fear, and frustration.
Well, the reason I'm here is I don't like the way this country's going right now.
Even before they spoke, the crowd knew what they were hoping to hear: accountability for the issues they care about.
I'm actually a psychiatric nurse practitioner, and I have so many patients who have Medicaid or Medicare. I'm afraid for the country.
On stage, AOC wasted no time challenging not only Republicans, but her own party.
And this isn't just about Republicans. We need a Democratic Party that fights harder for us, too.
Neither Sanders nor AOC spoke directly to Denver-specific issues like immigration enforcement in the city or the rising cost of living, instead focusing on national themes like raising the minimum wage and taking on billionaires.
Is we will not allow America to become an oligarchy. This nation was built by working people, and we're not going to let a handful of billionaires run the government.
Both leaders finishing off with a reminder to the people: the power is with them.
No, it's not Bernie. Not Bernie. I got bad news for you. It's you.
I want you to look at every level of office around you and support Democrats who actually fight, because those are the ones that can win against Republicans. We are going to get through this.
One of many stops across the West this week, and tomorrow they will be in Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah, right now they're in Tucson today.
We're joined by someone who knows all about these issues and has warned about them in film and in politics. Michael Moore, the Oscar-winning filmmaker, has campaigned in previous cycles with Bernie Sanders. He's, of course, an author and a popular Substack columnist. Welcome back.
Did the guy respond about what I'm racist about, or did they just, like, move on? Did they say anything? No, that's it. Just that I'm a loser and a racist, and my viewers are brain dead. Huh. Interesting.
Thank you, Ari. Where do you want to begin, Michael? Go ahead.
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, it's great seeing Bernie and AOC out there across the country. And it's starting to feel, I don't know if I should say this, it's way too early to talk about 2028 yet. Everybody's thinking about what we're going to do next year. I believe that Alexandria will be 35 by Inauguration Day in January of 2029. And perhaps historians will see this tour where Bernie and AOC barnstorm the country. Oligarchy versus democracy. And that introduced the idea of we need a whole new person, a kind of person in the White House that is going to fight for the people. And while Bernie may think, well, you know, maybe by 2028 he's going to be too old, you can see just how not old he is. It's just been amazing to watch the tour this week, and to think about.
God, I mean, it's interesting to see. You know, this is a moment of vindication for someone like Michael Moore. It's a moment of vindication for someone like myself as well. But like, I can't help but see the danger ahead, and so close that I can't think about like who's gonna run and what their chances are in 2028. You know what I mean? I'm sure he can't either. He basically said that. Anyway,
that we have somebody like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to be the voice of, we have two full generations now of millennials and Gen Zers that are mad as hell at the world that they're being handed by the generations before them. And I can't live through another election where people stay home like they stayed home this time. I'm talking about liberal, lefty, Democrats, independents, people that by the millions stayed home on November 5th. And that cost us the election. There's more of us than there are of them. You look at every poll on the issues, the majority of Americans agree with Bernie and me and AOC. And yet millions stayed home. That's on the Democrats. And that has to change. And I'll just say one more thing. What I love about the tour is that Bernie is putting forth the idea that the Democrats have let us down on.
Some people are misunderstanding when I said 2028 is too far away. I heard some chatters going, oh, there's the midterms to worry about, right? And no, that's not what I meant either. Like, we're only 3 months, not even 3 months in. I guess technically 3 months in. We're about to be in our third month of this administration. And look at the situation. Like, we're not making it out. We're not making it out to the midterms, even if things go the way that they're going. And I'm being very serious about this. I'm being very sincere about this. I'm not fear-mongering at all. The Trump administration is causing irreparable harm at an alarming speed. This is why, regardless of your opinions of the Democratic Party, and I certainly am not the biggest fan, like, I don't care who does this right now, but you have to use every tool at your disposal, whether it be direct action, whether it be organizing, or whether it be hosting rallies, or whether it be even sometimes, you know, getting the Democrats, expecting the Democrats to do something. That's why I don't shy away from urging you to call your Congress persons, your congressional representatives, regardless of the fact that they rarely ever do your bidding. Because the moment that you just completely check out of that part of the process is a moment where it's over. You know, what are we going to do? Direct action in terms of like arming ourselves? Is that what your advocacy is? My goal is to avoid that reality. 800,000 Germans were arrested in the buildup to the Nazi regime and during the Nazi regime before World War II. 800,000. Many of them were killed in these camps. I don't want America to get to that point. So I'll use every tool in my disposal, which even includes trying to get Democratic congresspersons to still do the right thing, bring them there by force if necessary, in order to avoid that outcome, including Uber Eats. What are you talking about, dude? Some of you literally have lobotomies, I think. One of the many tools at your disposal. God, shut the fuck up. God, it's just like, I know you're joking. Here, I'm gonna unban you so you can be like, I was just joking, actually. And then I'm gonna ban you. Dude, I swear to God, you know, it's over. It's fucking done. When I see stuff like this from, you know, like-minded leftists who are just like, yeah, dude, keep eating that Uber Eats. Like, okay, dude. Yeah, you're right. I'm fucking phony. I'm a capitalist. I don't give a shit about anything. I'm just gonna be fucking right-wing then. You know what I mean? Like, there's no locking in involved here, okay? It's all locking out. Is it BDS or something? No, it's not. It's just people doing like fake, phony, I'm leftier than down nonsense. Yeah, I'm apolitical, dude. I'm fucking apolitical. Yeah, I'm right-wing. I'm a grifter. I'm a right-wing grifter. Oh, I'm so tired.
In such a profound way. We need people running for office as independents like Bernie does. He does just fine. Now, maybe in your state or your city, that's not the best thing to do. But Wes, you know, Bernie is not a member of the Democratic Party. Neither am I. And there's a reason for that. It should be evident by now. And we're not going to survive. If we think the Democrats are the cavalry and the cavalry is going to ride in and save us, that's not going to happen. Not with these Democrats. I'm sorry. I hate to say that, but we need more independent people. There are people watching me and you right now that need to think about running for office next year, local office, state office, Congress. We need to primary these Democrats that don't have the guts and the courage. Our country is being dismantled right now, and we are watching it. And for us to do nothing, for some of us who should be thinking about what we're going to do next year, that it's almost criminal that we are even just sitting here talking about this when we need to be out there. We should be in the streets. We should be running for office, and we should quit thinking the Democrats are going to save us. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. You're going to get a lot of emails and calls from people. Why are you having Michael Moore on? But I'm sorry. I can't go through another November 5th like we just went through. And in these 3-4 months since then, what we're watching happen every day, every hour you turn on MSNBC and it's something else. What was it 2 hours ago? Oh, they're dismantling the civil rights office of the Department of Homeland Security. And if anything has proven that we need a civil rights office in Homeland Security, it's what has happened to Mahmoud Khalil in the last couple of weeks. This is the Columbia University graduate student who was arrested and disappeared to Louisiana, not committed a single crime, not accused of a single crime. All he has done is to try and stand up for his people, the Palestinian people, with his freedom of speech rights that he has as a legal permanent resident of the United States of America. And the fact that we have...
Well, I'll jump in, although I let you run it for a while, Michael.
No, thank you.
But you made a lot of good points. That issue you raised, along with the deportation clash across this whole week, is about whether we will have the liberty that the founding fathers set as a baseline and had to be expanded over time as we expanded who really was a human being. It's a longer history. But the core idea was you can't have a king snatch people up, accuse them of things, and disappear them, as you said. Now, if through a process you satisfy the requirements and the person has due process and rights and counsel, there are reasons why people, of course, can be removed, but you have to prove that. If you can't prove that, which they haven't had to because they deported these folks on the planes and the example you give, then anybody can be snatched up. I mean, that's the whole reason why these are question is king-like powers. Your first point is really profound. You say people might not like it, but the Republican Party was fraying, and it got a boost of MAGA, which went against a lot of its core values, but became this cult of Trump. But it papered over that sclerotic party. And then people say he took over. And the Democrats, from what happened to Bernie, which we've covered in the initial time he ran against Clinton, to a lot of the other problems the party's had, also have these complete credibility issues with the public. So we're watching a public that doesn't think either party's that great. I could show you the numbers today, and I could show you the numbers a couple of years back. It's what you said. And so the larger grassroots question is who's going to step up and meet that. So I appreciate what you said there. I want to give you more time, and I want to show you something on prices because all the way back to Flint, Michigan, we ignore the working people at our peril in a country like this, as you've documented. And so here's the double talk from MAGA on what people do care about, which is jobs and prices.
Are you expecting agricultural products to be more expensive as a result of tariffs, Secretary?
When they voted in November of 2024, they knew that's what they were voting for. There may be an interim period as we're readjusting the entire economy. But listen, real change takes disruption.
I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
The one on groceries. It's a very simple word, groceries. Like almost, who uses the word? I started using the word, the groceries.
Starting the day I take the oath of office, I will rapidly drive prices down.
Prices aren't down, markets are down, and tariffs are up. Is this a bait and switch? Go ahead.
That was the word, groceries. Okay. Yeah, listen, this is the gift of Trump, if I could put it that way, that he has already started to turn his own people against him. They're not quite there yet, but when they start going to the doctor and there's no Medicaid payment, and they're going to have to pay that doctor for their children and all of that, just go down the whole list of things that is going to cost them more and more money. It's going to be harder and harder to live, and they're going to understand that he's the one that made this happen. And maybe he's thinking, well, I'm really good at lying, and if you just say it long enough.
My fear is they won't. And the reason why I think that is not because of the cultish mentality, because some are in the cult and they'll never see it. But the real reason why people won't see it is because there's no active, deliberate attempt to make people understand that he's doing it. And without that, absent of that, he could just keep lying about everything. They'll just say, we haven't punished trans people hard enough. We haven't punished Mexicans hard enough. We haven't punished the Democrats hard enough. This is why I say I don't have to be a supporter of the Democratic Party or a card-carrying Democrat to know that they have to do this messaging. Because as long as the duopoly still exists, I don't care about strengthening the Democrats. I care about making sure that we use them as a weapon to wield against the Trump administration. This doesn't mean that I'm a Democrat. This doesn't mean that I'm a liberal. This doesn't mean that I'm on board with the Democratic Party's agenda. I want them to fight. The Democrats are a tool to fight against fascism. As long as they exist, that is the unfortunate reality. Do you understand? Just like Bernie Sanders' impact wasn't simply, Bernie Sanders' impact was not simply about running and almost winning in the primaries. His impact, I think, most significantly was bringing these ideas to the main stage and showing Americans that these otherwise radical positions are not so radical. There is a politician out there that is advocating for the American working class's best interests. Using the existing avenues to garner support like this is phenomenally important. And I think a lot of people that want to maintain ideological purity don't recognize that. People that want to maintain ideological purity don't understand how important it is to present yourself in ways that is palatable to as broad an audience as possible. Never compromise on your values. But when you talk about issues, understand who you're talking to. That's why when I go on Theo Vaughn's podcast, I'm not compromising on my values, but my messaging is different than when I go on, I don't know, the Deprogram podcast, right? This is just the way you communicate in a normal way. If you want your otherwise unpopular or not well-known worldview and perspective that most people inherently despise due to a century of Red Scare propaganda. If you want those positions to come across as palatable, you have to be normal, and you have to use every outlet you can to keep moving the needle in that direction, to bring more people on board. That is my primary focus right now, because looking at the material conditions in the United States of America, analyzing the lack of class consciousness that the working class has here, I think there is still so much need for agitative propaganda to get people to understand that they're being over by this system. A lot of you fantasize about a post-communist utopia when you live in one of the most reactionary countries, reactionary anti-communist countries on the planet. This is not about propping up the Democrats, but instead using their platform and trying to get them to understand, perhaps it's a foolhardy endeavor, and I certainly think so, by the way, but to get them to understand that you have to change trajectory and you have to focus on the material. You have to focus on policies. You have to talk about how Trump is harming American lives directly and drive a wedge between Trump and his base of support to the best of your ability, and try to undermine the Trump agenda every step of the way. If you don't do that, you're done. That's it. And you might disagree with my methods, and that's certainly fine too. That's fine. Go ahead. You can disagree with me all day. It's not the end of the world. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. You do you, I'll do me. All right?
Price of eggs, price of eggs, price of eggs, price of eggs. They'll go with that. I don't think so. I think the American people are smarter than that. And I know fellow liberals are watching this and going like, no. But yes. And from, as you mentioned, Flint, Michigan. Flint, Michigan is the birthplace of the 8-month pregnant wife of Mahmoud Khalil. She was born and raised in Flint, Ari. She was a top student at Flint University of Michigan, Flint branch. Gave the graduation speech there about 8 years ago. She's now a dentist. She's Dr. Noor Abdallah from Flint, Michigan, American citizen. He's a permanent legal resident with a green card. And I'm sorry to go back to that, but I'm just saying that the people in the state of Michigan, which Trump won, in the Flint, Michigans, in the Grand Rapids, in the Pontiacs, all those places, he's not going to keep this up. They're already on to him. They're already on to Chainsaw Man. And I read this thing the other day, the Michigan Chainsaw Massacre, of how Michigan is already hurting by the things that he's done. People are wise. They will come along to this. They will realize this. The Republicans, there's this, what's his name, Andy Biggs. He's, they're all getting just slammed at their town halls. He's doing a town hall. He said now that only Republicans can come to it. They're going to vet you and make sure only Republicans can get in the room. Andy Biggs, if you don't know, if you're watching this, is one of the 147 Republicans who, after a violent mob took over the United States Capitol on January 6th, and it took almost till late in the evening near midnight for the police and the National Guard to remove them from our Capitol. And then all the members of Congress and the senators came back in. And at 2 or so in the morning, now January 7th, 147 Republicans voted to overturn the 2020 election. They voted to overthrow the vote of the people. I'll exactly quote the New York Times. 147 Republicans who voted to, quote, overturn election results. And Reuters, Republicans, 147 of them voted to overturn the election. To me, I'm sorry, I was...
Michael Moore does live out a little bit too much for my taste.
Raised differently. That's the work of traitors. If you are voting, and you're voting just hours after an attempted overthrow of the United States Capitol, and then you show up and then you vote to say, no, we reject what the American people have said and how they voted. That's a treasonous act. And there were 147 Republicans who did this, including Andy Biggs, who only wants Republicans at his town hall. The American people
occupying this much space with January 6th related criticisms is wild.
Operator establishing score streak.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. I've taken a lot of shit for not wanting to throw AOC and Bernie out and giving them grace. I know where regular people are, and there are the people that represent us in the minds of normies, reachable libs, etc. Yeah. I'm not saying that like AOC and Bernie Sanders are going to save us. I'm just saying that they are, as elected representatives with a lot of motion, with a lot of popularity, they are incredibly valuable tools at your disposal. Spending every waking moment yelling at them, I think is... This isn't to say you shouldn't criticize them, by the way, but like the level of criticism I think that they receive from people that are they're closest to ideologically is always funny to me, because it's like there are so many more infinitely worse people out there in Congress.
I don't believe in bad. Just bad aim.
I understand why you'd be more upset at them, because it's like disappointing to see someone that you trust, right? That's not for you to police. It's not. But you know what my job is? My job is to try to find the most effective means of communicating certain desires that we all share. That's it. I'm not policing it. I'm just simply saying that while there is plenty of places to criticize these people on, you have to expand on your perspective and not have incredibly narrow horse blinders when analyzing the situation and then thinking that they are the worst people in Congress, because many people do have that attitude. It's a strange way to appropriate, you know? You got Richie Torres and Chuck Schumer and many other people like that in the Democratic Party. Then you have the entirety of the Republican Party as well. You know, if you think that like the absolute worst people to constantly yell at is the likes of AOC and whatnot, then you're just not, you're missing the forest for the trees. Ironically enough, until Ethan Klein quite literally changed his entire content to fucking psychopathically pursue every little thing I do and like lie about it and actively try to deplatform me and successfully deplatform others. The reason why I was always like, I don't give a fuck about what Ethan is saying about Israel, shut up, he's not your enemy, was for this reason. It was for this reason, because I was like, initially he had said a bunch of pro-Palestinian things, and I was like, yeah, there's no reason to constantly hyper-focus on what he's doing. And over the course of the past year, obviously his attitude changed dramatically, and he became like an insane Hosberist, an insane propagandist for Israel in that time frame. So that's the reason why I think it's there's a point that where it's understandable when you fucking start criticizing people.
All right, moderates, watch out. The socialists are stepping up to fill the leadership vacuum in the Democrat Party. Bernie Sanders and AOC are hitting the road with their Fighting Oligarchy tour in red and blue states, taking aim at the usual suspects like Elon Musk and President Trump. But they are also throwing some shade at their own. Watch.
We need a Democratic Party that fights harder for us too. I want you to look at every level of office around and support Democrats who fight, because those are the ones who can actually beat Republicans.
You got guys playing defense, but they also play offense. Our offense is to remind us all and every person in this country, we are the wealthiest nation in the history of this world.
But the moderate wing of the party is doing their best to counter AOC. Democratic Michigan Senator Alyssa Slotkin fired this shot. Listen closely.
I can't just dedicate myself to the White House and become an activist full time because you and others here are going to call me for things that you need. All of those things require me to be more than just an AOC. Everyone you mentioned has a lot of words, but what have they actually done to change the situation with Donald Trump?
I'm glad that they're showing the president of the Democratic Party positioned as their rising star, former CIA torturer Elisa Slotkin, who just won her election in Michigan. She's the person who responded to the Trump joint congressional setting. You got two planks broadly in the Democratic Party. I almost called it the Republican Party. My strategy right now is to target centrist Democrats and try to program normie liberals that hate them for collaborating with the right wing. That's the opportunity we have now. Show that the left is the only thing that will fight Trump. That lets us earn trust, spread class consciousness, and promote passing causes. Show that Chuck Schumer is supporting Netanyahu as Netanyahu is openly supporting Trump. That's what I see them doing right now, but they need to sharpen up. Yes, I 100% agree with you on this. And that is my strategy as well. And I think that that is their strategy as well. I think they're trying to do that. Yeah, that's it. That's why I think they're doing this whole like fighting oligarchy tour and showcasing how popular it is to show the rest of the country that there is a different way out of this, that there are real fighters out there, but those real fighters are not fucking moderate centrists. That's it. Yes. The moderate centrists like Slotkin think that they can go to their town halls and be like, no, I can't do anything. I'm not here to be an activist. Otherwise, I can't be a good legislator.
But if all else fails, the Bidens are looking for a comeback. NBC News reporting that former President Joe Biden and his wife, former First Lady Jill Biden, have been putting out some feelers to Democratic leaders and saying, look, you know, we can help you. We can.
I agree. They do need to. I agree with this, by the way. They do need to endorse Zoran and do a rally in New York City ASAP. Bernie and AOC can't have it both ways. They say run as independent and we'll endorse you, and then they haven't endorsed Zoran yet with 90 days left. I agree. I think they absolutely have to use this momentum to endorse Zoran Mamdani. I'll do everything in my power to make that happen. The person who prevented me from falling into Gamergate rage now calls you anti-Semitic. How things change. Wait, it was Ethan Klein that prevented you from falling into Gamergate rage? That's so funny. Yeah, well, the world is a crazy place, you know. With my political development, I think there was a time when Ethan and I were in the crosshairs of one another, or at odds with one another. Not that I really paid attention to what he was doing back then, but you know, having Jordan Peterson on and things of that nature, like that would have put me directly against him ideologically. And now we're back to that norm, I guess. Also, not to glaze you too much, but I really think they don't give you enough respect. 50K live viewers on their stream is larger than the biggest rally Bernie ever had. That really doesn't seem to sink in with them. It's all good. I think they understand it. Dude, first of all, a lot of people on their teams are members of this community. Some of them literally got involved in politics because of their initial interest being sparked by being members in this community. That's something you have to remember. So there are certainly people who do understand the value. Others within the orbit. Like there's to think that like Bernie and AOC don't know the importance of coming on to this broadcast is wrong. They do. They literally were willing to give me an hour of their time, and the only reason why it didn't happen is because they came in too late to the rally. Like they're not giving an hour to CBS, you know what I mean? Every now and then, maybe if you get it on the right time, you can get a Lex Fridman spot or a Theo Vaughn spot, but like most outlets are not getting that.
We can do anything else necessary to help Democrats recover the lost ground. And boy, it's lost, Janine. It is down to about 29, 27%. So they've been in Delaware, I guess, for a little while. He's going back and forth to Washington, D.C. on the Amtrak, I know. But they're starting to put out some feelers. You know, you guys, I think you need some help from the two of us.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if no one calls, and I don't think they should sit and wait beside their phone. Look, Joe Biden and Jill, I think in the end, the mess that happened with Kamala Harris is going to be attributed to Joe Biden and to Jill, okay? But having said all that, I really want to talk about the message. They want someone who fights. They want someone who does actions, according to Elise Slotkin, actions over words. And, you know, does that mean that you don't talk about things that you know, you get out there and you torch things or you burn things up. I'm not sure what that means. And plus, I think it's kind of crazy that they want to fight an oligarchy when I think it was Fetterman who the other day said, I don't think the Democrats should use the word oligarchy. The American people don't know what it means. And I don't think they know what it means, especially Bernie Sanders, because he's a socialist. And the truth is that, you know, socialists control pretty much every aspect of your society, and they want to fight the oligarchy. I mean, I don't quite get it all. But this is a whole bunch of...
What the are you saying? A socialist controls every aspect of your life? What are you saying? Where? I don't know. I don't know what to do about this, but it's good that we look at this stuff because I hope you understand this is what half, at least, the country believes, if not more than half the country. Okay? This idiotic slop is coming from the most popular news commentary broadcast, okay? Fox News. I need you to understand, there are a lot more people that tune into this and subscribe to this notion than there are even Republican Party voters. It is unimaginably cooked, which is why I always find it funny when people are like, you know what? These guys, Bernie, he's not as radical as I want him to be. It's like, yeah, he's not as radical as I want him to be either, dumbass. But look at the situation. Look at the goddamn situation. A socialist is controlling every aspect of your life. It's like, where? Who? What are you talking about? God, the situation is so bleak, dude. We got direct billionaires. The wealthiest billionaire on the planet has complete control over the administrative state and is using every opportunity to dismantle it. And this is the dumb shit that people are hearing and going, hell yeah, to. The notion that, like, socialists control every aspect of people's lives. Like, what are you saying?
Nothing from a whole bunch of nobodies. Because Donald Trump broke the Democrat Party. They don't have a message. They don't have a messenger.
This might be one of your few lived up opinions. If you think it's lived up to, like, actually exist in the real world and talk to real human beings who have some of the dumbest opinions of all time, then I don't know what to tell you. Then I guess I am lived up, you know? Like, what do you mean? America is an incredibly reactionary country. Yeah, thank you. Literally, the first thing you learn as an organizer is to meet folks where they're at. We got to get realistic on moving people instead of focusing on ideological purity. Thank you. Exactly. Exactly.
They just want to fight. They don't know what they want to fight about. Half of them are happy about what's going on with the torching of the Tesla vehicles. Nobody's coming out against it other than Ro Khanna and maybe Bernie Sanders. They're in the middle of an abyss. They don't know what to do. And, you know, I think in the end, the party is going to be split. They say they're like the Republican Party when the Tea Party came in and kind of fractured it. They've got like two Tea Parties. They don't know who they are or what they're about. And, you know, final note, if AOC wants to say they're the party of the working Americans, don't let her forget that she wouldn't allow Amazon to come to Queens. That there were 25,000 jobs that would have been available. $4 billion in lost wages. $4 billion in additional business to local businesses. Don't even use the word AOC.
Jess, I have the same question when she talks about fighting, wanting someone who fights and fighting the oligarchy. What does that actually mean to you as you hear it?
It means that we need representatives that want to be out there with the people, holding rallies and town halls, people who are talking about what's going on in the administration, the trade-offs of, you know, Trump wanting trillions in tax cuts for people who earn a ton of money and that they're going to come and cut your Medicaid. She's talking about people that are open and honest and responsive, and people who admit what's going on, the harsh realities of what's going on in some blue cities, which is, she had been talking about it, and this week I've mentioned it every day, but Ezra Klein and Derek Thompson's new book, Abundance, is coursing through the conversation in Democratic circles. So, you know, AOC and Bernie, you can call them radicals. They're Democratic socialists. They're talking about things like, you know, it should be a basic human right to have good health care and to have the right to a good education and a roof over your head and be able to make enough money to put food on the table. That's not where, listen, Democratic Socialists is the left side of the party for sure, but they are bringing in crowds. He has more people showing up to his rallies now than even when he was running for president, and he had big crowds at that moment. The reason, though, that this isn't a Tea Party movement within our party, at least at this point, is that you're not seeing progressives winning their elections. They're not primarying moderates and winning it all. Moderates were hugely successful in the 2024 election on the congressional and Senate level, which is part of what Elisa Slotkin's talking about. She won Michigan as a moderate Dem when Donald Trump won as well. But Pritzker's getting on the road, and these town halls are huge. 800 for Pat Ryan, 1,300 for Jason Crow. That's what fighting is. It's showing up.
Tea Party, Jesse. You know, when I think of the Tea Party, I think about smaller government and less regulation and lower taxes that pushed the Republican Party back to those roots. I'm trying to figure out, you know, if that, I mean, do they want more government, larger government? Is that where a fringe
Why is she asking this asshole?
Tea Party would push the Democrat Party at this point?
Well, we know what they want, and no one wants it. It was DEI, it was trans surgeries, it was cash bail. It's been rejected, and it's all based in cities. The Tea Party was a national movement. It was intergenerational, and they won massive midterms. And it wasn't just in the House. They put Tea Party people in the Senate. And Trump came out of the Tea Party. So I don't see a Tea Party yet, but it could be fun to watch.
The Tea Party is not an analog because the Tea Party was an AstroTurf movement. The Tea Party also is aligned, not diametrically opposed to the agenda of the Republican Party. They just are basically Republican plus. This is the major difference between a real populist left movement coming from within the Democratic Party and outside of the Democratic Party. It cannot be AstroTurfed in the same way that the Koch brothers basically designed the Tea Party movement. It can't. No billionaire is going to fund a socialist movement. They're not, because it's, you know, inherently against their existence. They're not going to do that. So that's number one. Number two, the Tea Party is Republican plus, whereas Democratic socialists, socialists alike, and trade unionists even, and their advocacy is directly at odds with the advocacy of the Democrats. That's why they sign off on messaging bills that say communism will never come to the United States of America. Communism is bad. Nancy Pelosi and Bernie Sanders do not see the world in the same way. They don't. They are at direct odds with one another. Donald Trump and the rest of the Republicans, on the other hand, do see the world in the same way. Now, maybe the Republicans wanted to be more moderate, wanted to be more stable, and obviously resisted against Trump, but there's a reason why they fell in line. They fell in line because their worldview is the same. Okay? The direction that they are moving in is the same. Trump did not invent anti-immigrant sentiment. He merely unshackled the dog whistles. He said, no more dog whistles. Just say they're rapists, dumbass. Just keep saying brown people do rape and serial murder. That's all the difference is between Donald Trump and what you used to hear from the normal Republican Party in the ways that Nancy Pelosi wanted a normal and strong Republican Party because he's a idiot. Donald Trump read the room, saw the direction of the Republican Party, many of those opinions he already aligned with, and just unshackled the messaging. That's it. You have to truly believe that the Democrats are interested in social progress or advancing an agenda that will uplift the material conditions of working class Americans. You have to truly believe that they're being earnest and not simply using that as a messaging strategy to try and win votes to the best of their ability with no real interest in advancing that agenda. To think that Bernie and people like myself especially are basically on the same pathway towards progress as the Democrats are, I'm just like Democrat plus. That's not what it is. They want to maintain capitalism. They want to maintain late-stage capitalism. They want to maintain neoliberalism in this country. That is their primary focus. Therefore, we are diametrically opposite to one another.
I'm afraid what it's going to look like if Democrats fight harder. They shot him.
I do think that there is a change happening, albeit slow. but a change is happening. Why do I think that? Well, I think that from my own personal experiences. Not only because I see so many people going to the Bernie rallies and whatnot, but I also see that in the way that like the media reception has been to even someone like myself. 10 years ago, there's no world that the media would openly call someone like myself a hard socialist. The only people that would call me that would be Fox News. 10 years ago, a person like myself would not be branded adequately by liberal outlets. They would just call me, he's the most liberal. He's super liberal. So that dynamic is shedding away a little bit. The messaging is changing a little bit, and that's good. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. People are making that distinction, and I think that that is not a bad distinction to make. Anyway, it's interesting to also have this as the backdrop here, because while I'm talking about the minutia, this is talking about how a registered Republican that shot Donald Trump was actually secretly in the pocket of the Democrats. The Democrats put a hit out on Donald Trump. Yeah, totally, dude. That's how ballsy the Democrats are, which is why they voted for the CR bill effectively. Like, how does that work? How do you live in a world where you think the Democrats wanted to kill Donald Trump, like assassinate him, but also as soon as he came into office, they just rolled over and were like, please, sir. Like, how do these two things work at the same time? Registered Republican, incel, wearing some gun tuber merchandise, goes out of his way to make a name for himself by shooting at the president, and they're like, this is the Democrats' fault. The very same Democrats that keel over and give Trump everything he wants every step of the way. Ridiculous. It makes no sense. All you're doing by supporting Bernie/AOC is taking your very finite population of fans and making sure they remain Democrats for all eternity. The actual people who need to be reached are the tens of millions who are being taken by the right, and you fail to reach them. Yes, dude, I know. If only I was more racist, I would be able to reach those guys. I know, MAGA communists. You got it. You're right. Totally. It's just weird because the only motion you get with your pathway, with your way of changing people's minds is just normalizing the racist sentiment, which is anti-materialist. It's stupid. Yeah, real Nazball revolutionary sentiment hasn't been tried yet. We'll eventually get there. Thank you, dude. You really got it. I'm glad that it's no longer just a meme flag online, and it's now a real robust movement, according to you. Yeah, one day you'll be able to penetrate the working class consciousness and get them to recognize their class position. You'll be able to agitate appropriately, and you'll be able to instill class consciousness in the working class. Just, you know, keep saying that transgender people are mentally ill and a bunch of ableist slurs and shit. Like, you'll inevitably reach them, I promise. Yeah. If I say the R word, if I say the R word a couple more times and call people the F slur or whatever, I'll be able to truly get real working class people on board, because that's how they speak. Sure. Okay. That is how they speak. Got it. So what? Your job isn't to, your job shouldn't be to lean on the reactionary tendencies that they have. Your job is to move them away. Hassan, centrist, right-wing grift arc. What? Yeah. It's so funny that, like, these guys, a lot of MAGA communists, their starting position is despising the Democratic Party. And that's understandable. It's understandable to despise the Democratic Party. It's a bourgeois party under the duopoly that still is very much on board with maintaining capitalism, right? It's a controlled opposition party. And yet, what you're doing is literally the exact same thing that they're doing. They also are like, let's just drop the trans stuff, actually, and maintain neoliberalism that way. Okay, good luck. Like Lenin said, the point is not to tail the working class, but to lead them. Yes. Why do you avoid talking about their party, the ACP, because I don't care. It's irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. And if they're doing like real direct action in terms of like helping people out in communities and whatever, great. If they actually, if they're, you know, actively spreading anti-capitalist thought, good. Okay. I think there's a whole bunch of reactionary garbage there, and I don't personally care about it. And it's the nicest thing I can do is to not yell about them all the time.
Yeah. They fined him $500 million. They tried to strip him off the ballot. They impeached him twice. They had a guy with a gun show up to a Supreme Court justice's house after they accused him of rape. I mean, literally, what more can you guys do? The only thing that you haven't done is shut down the government. Be my guest. Because then we'll find out who is really an essential worker. But you're right, Jessica. You actually define fighting better than I've ever heard anybody. Because right now, your party thinks fighting is like throwing a cane at Trump. That's not fighting with a little sign. That's nothing. I think what you guys need to do is recruit, raise money, and with the midterms. Great. And then you can start doing things.
We had our strongest
nice straw man you got there. Why don't you advocate for already existing communist structures in America? What's the already existing communist structure that you want me to advocate for? Why don't you just say it out loud?
President.
Because until it reaches a real point, okay, and until they shed themselves of their reactionary tendencies, and it reaches a real point of momentum when there's like actually people, you just want me to talk about your splinter Discord, okay? And I'm not going to do that. It's the same reason why I don't talk about like Baba Vakian all the time or whatever bastion of new Larishites that exist. I don't care about your 30-person splinter Discord. You are from our blood report about Turkey. You born in this land, and does your content already come on? But I don't know why people think I haven't talked about Recep Tayyip Erdogan arresting Imamoglu. I did. I talked about it extensively, and I will cover it. I will cover it again. Where is this coming from? Like, people think that I haven't been talking about this issue. There's also people that come in here and they're like, why don't you even post on Instagram? I have as well. What the
Okay, let's go. Hey muckers, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing very, very, very well. Little bit of a different background right now because I'm in Tokyo, Japan, which is crazy. However, we have a lot of stuff to get to. So I want to make a continuation to our video that we did on I'm Alex, because in that video I said how Fraser, iNabber, had posted a lot of Instagram stories in reference to I'm Alex's video. And in my video I had said how Alex and Fraser were having this back and forth on social media, and a lot of people took from that I was implying that they were like almost collaborating in some capacity. That was my miswording, so I want to dive into everything and clarify today. I have not read all of these because there are so many of them, so I wanted to do this with you together. In no way did I mean they were like collaborating or anything like that. I just mean that like iNabber was posting, and then Alex posted, and then iNabber posted about that, and then there was some sort of like story resharing going on. And this is all stemming because we know that I'm Alex made his YouTube return. And if you want to know my thoughts on that, I've already posted on that. It was like an hour-and-a-half video because his video was like 2 hours long. And in the video, he really throws Fraser, who I'm going to refer to iNabber as Fraser this video. He really throws Fraser under the bus and kind of implies that Fraser is lying about how close they actually were, and basically implying that he just was a really bad friend. And so Fraser is obviously now responding, and there's a lot to dive into. And we're gonna dive in. So I hope you're all doing very well. And yes, also I have been filming all of my Japan trip on my Instagram, so if you want to go over there, you'll see every single day, every activity I'm doing. It's been really, really, really fun. So I also want to let you know that we're about to embark right after Japan on the second leg of the Chronically Online tour. My Patreon is linked down below with a bunch of exclusive content. So if you're in Nashville starting from the 22nd of April Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Boston, Minneapolis, Detroit, Chicago, Orlando, Houston, Atlanta, Phoenix, Vegas, San Diego, San Francisco. The Chronically Online tour is making a final stop, and then the Chronically Online tour will be over after this. So if you're in any of those places, tickets are linked down below. I can't wait to keep you with all of you. And yeah, let's get into this. So I have them loaded up here, and we're just going to go through them. So
another political liberal was not very happy with my video about how Hassan Piker helps liberal Zionism, and they decided to make a video that just provides another great example of Jewish exceptionalism and literally nothing more. And we're going to address it and give them precisely the same amount of courtesy that they gave to actually responding to my video, which is zero. There is something that makes like liberals who call themselves anarchists because it sounds cooler extremely uncomfortable about the notion that they benefit from imperialism and colonialism. And they will do absolutely fucking anything to pretend otherwise in this completely unmaterialistic, idealistic way that does not hold up to any sort of objective analysis of reality. And you make them uncomfortable by pointing out otherwise that yes, people do in fact benefit from imperialism and colonialism, and their interests do in fact align with those things. They resort entirely to idealistic appeals to identity, to notions of like, but this makes me feel bad. And that's precisely what this is and precisely what every single response to me on this has been. So first thing that you need to note here is that if you see someone who does this thing where they're only talking all lowercase as if they're a detached 12-year-old trying to seem cool, run the fuck away. You can't be an adult doing that shit without it being a giant red flag. And this is precisely one of those people. Lonerbox does it, and it's not surprising at all that this guy's views align perfectly with those of Lonerbox. Now, this video is 19 minutes long. Okay, it's 19 minutes long. The video that it pertains to be responding to, it is 42 minutes long. And that's also not my only video on the topic. I also have another 24-minute video on the topic. I have many, many videos about this specific topic where I talk about this, at least 5 hours around that. I have another 1 hour and 30-minute video on this topic. I have another 30-minute video on this topic, 25-minute video on this topic. And this guy responding to me and pertaining to debunk me on this topic somehow makes a video that is half the duration of the video that he pertains to be debunking. It's simply not possible to respond to someone unless you're straight up leaving out what they're saying, because otherwise you know that you would lose an argument in an inanimate video. And you would be losing that argument with that inanimate video in your own carefully edited response video, no less. Like a remotely adequate response, unless you're just sort of taking the piss, it should be like at least 1.5 times longer, ideally 2 times longer. Otherwise, you're clearly not actually showing what the other person is saying. You're clearly strawmanning them. You're clearly not actually arguing against them, but arguing against your own characterization of what they're saying without showing the people watching what they actually said so they can judge for themselves if you are accurately characterizing what they're saying. So there's no way this is an adequate response at all. The fact that he is leaving out such a massive amount of things that I have said on this topic, like 3 to 4 hours of videos on the topic, means that he simply cannot be responding in any honest way. So I'm going to give him the exact same courtesy that he gave me. I'm not going to show you even a second of what he said. I'm in fact going to close this video right now, and I'm going to give you my own summary of what he said, which is incredibly stupid. He made an entire 2 attempted points in this video that is basically, how dare you hurt my liberal feelings? I don't benefit from imperialism. How dare you say that? And how dare you say mean things about Hassan Piker? So the first point that he made, that he tried to make rather, was Baden Panada said that Israeli Jews benefit from Israeli colonialism, and that's why they support it. But in another video, Baden Panada said that colonialism is inherently unsafe. So how does that make any sense? Do you think like there is not an element of risk to benefit? Have you ever heard the phrase risk versus reward, like the most basic element of like human advancement under basically every economic system that has ever existed in human history? People are happy to take risks to derive benefits. Like, there's no way you actually believe that. Do you believe that like some settler on the American frontier who moved from like a slum in England to steal Indian land, that he was not deriving benefits while simultaneously putting himself at risk in doing that? So that's just a fucking stupid talking point. That's obviously you did not prove that I think that I contradicted myself there by saying that I said that it's riskier to live in Israel than it isn't to live in New York. There's no contradiction between that and the fact that you benefit from living in Israel as a Jew because you were given a ton of benefits at the cost of Palestinians. What a ridiculous argument. This is just one element of what I said. These sorts of liberals who call themselves anarchists, who need to think that no one benefits from bad things. The only case where they might admit that someone benefits from bad things are capitalists, because capitalists for them are like this tiny abstract group that no one they know or will ever interact with is a part of, and hence that makes them okay to blame. But imagining that like a supposedly normal person, a normal everyday Israeli, could be benefiting from doing something horrible, that's a line they are not willing to cross, especially because they're Jewish. Jews cannot do anything wrong, they're exceptional. The second point that this genius tried to make is that if you say that Israel benefits Israeli Jews, then you are supporting ethno-nationalism because Israel itself argues that it benefits Israeli Jews. Now, this is an argument that can only make sense to you if you think that you should support anything that benefits you. And that's the extent of your politics. Now, personally, that's not the extent of my politics. So, yeah, I mean, that argument was easy to deal with, wasn't it? Do you think that he's arguing as if what justifies Israel is the idea that it benefits Jews? You can only believe in that in two circumstances. One, you think that Jews are special and that whatever benefits them is uniquely justified, which I'm sure there's an element of here. And two, you think that anything is justified if it benefits you or your class of person or whatever. And if you believe that, I mean, I guess you believe in capitalism, it benefits capitalists. I guess you believe in monarchy, it benefits the monarchs. I guess it's justified for them to pursue their own interests by upholding those systems. I mean, after all, it benefits them. Now, this might come as a shock to you, but the reason why I oppose colonialism is not because it doesn't benefit the colonizers. It does. It very much does. That's why they participate in it. That's why they travel from far and wide to participate in it, despite the risks that I've talked about, because it benefits them greatly. It benefits them handsomely. That's the entire reason why it's done. But I'm not against colonialism because it benefits the people carrying it out. I'm not against colonialism because it's bad for the people who are carrying it out. I'm against colonialism because it comes at the cost of a fucking massive amount of other people. You harm others to derive self-benefit. The basic principle is the exact same as that of the broader system of capitalism, which you pretend to be against, but which you're clearly not actually against. It's just the dumbest arguments I've ever seen in my fucking life. Do you think the thing that's bad about ethno-nationalism is that it doesn't actually benefit the group that it claims to benefit? I don't think that's the bad thing about it at all. I think that it excludes and murders and steals from everyone outside of that imagined group. So, yeah, what a dumb fucking moron. What a stupid argument. And this entire logic can only come from two places, as I said. One is Jewish exceptionalism. You think that Jews are special and uniquely entitled to do things that would otherwise be impermissible, and thus, if you acknowledge that something is good for the Jews who engage in it, that means that it can't be wrong, it can't be incorrect. So his emotional senses are hurt because for him, the only valid reason to be against Zionism is if it was bad for Jews. So he has to imagine a world where it is bad for Israeli Jews to do Zionism when it's just factually not. Again, he has to resort to idealism, pure idealism, avoiding material analysis of reality, where clearly, by any reasonable metric, Israelis benefit greatly from doing colonialism in Israel, obviously. And the second possible reasoning stems from that as well. It is this sort of desire to posture as a radical, to posture as being against the status quo, as going against the grain, but ultimately being uncomfortable with the idea that you, yours, and people like you might benefit from that status quo. So in order to try and make yourself feel better about that, you need to construct this alternate non-existent reality where the only people who benefit from the status quo are this like tiny little group of elite capitalists, and there's no one in the first world, there's no one in the colonies, there's no like supposedly regular people who derive any benefits from the systems of colonialism and imperialism. And the effect of this obvious lie, which you can easily disprove by just analyzing fucking reality in any sort of objective manner, is to get people complacent, to push them away from actually diagnosing the problem, let alone fighting against it. So in function, you are just a generic liberal capitalist who is going to maintain the status quo until the end of eternity, not just in Palestine, but in the entire world, because you drive people away from realizing what the fucking problem is, and you lead them towards this incredibly stupid idealistic notion that you're somehow going to demolish imperialism by appealing to this idiotic notion that it's bad for the people who actually benefit from it when, you know, it very clearly is fucking not. They want to spread this idiotic idea that the way to fight capitalism, the way to fight imperialism is to sit down and have a reasoned chat with, you know, like the American petit bourgeois, the American factory worker making $80,000 a year, the Israeli who just moved in to a Palestinian house in the West Bank. You sit down with them and you have like a reasoned talk with them about how actually this system that got them to where they are, that gave them these perverse benefits, is actually somehow bad for them. And that's not going to happen. And every time that you and liberals like you spread this notion while posturing as if you're actually against this system, you are actively causing harm. And not just perpetuating Zionism, though obviously you are doing that, but perpetuating imperialism and colonialism forever. I'm not going to say that you help Zionism. I'm going to say that you are a Zionist. I'm not going to say that you help imperialism and colonialism. I'm going to say that you are an imperialist and a colonialist, because that is the effect of these idiotic ideas that you attempt to spread thus far, luckily, unsuccessfully. Now, it will not come as any surprise to you that in this video, despite the fact that my video that he obviously did not respond to in any reasonable way dealt very extensively with things like the Palestinian right of return and stuff like that. He doesn't mention this at all in his video because the fact of the matter is he's against them. If you told him that an Israeli would have to like endure material consequences, material harm for Palestinian liberation, because a lot of them live on Palestinian land in Palestinian homes and they have to leave. You know, where they leave to is their own fucking problem. I don't give a shit. You should neither. He doesn't address that at all. He doesn't mention it at all. Because to someone like this, it's literally unthinkable that there should be any, like, just the basic concept of someone getting their fucking house back from those who stole it. That can't happen because it would inconvenience this imagined misled Israeli. And if it can convince you that the Israeli is just misled rather than malicious and fully conscious of what they're doing and why they're doing it, it lulls you into a complacency where you will never diagnose the problem, let alone support the only real solutions for it. That's why he just completely avoids that topic, despite like literally 20 fucking minutes of the video that he pretends to be responding to about me being dedicated to it. It being mentioned at every opportunity. So yeah, it's a fucking moronic liberal, generic polycule liberal, and anarchists and anyone who calls themselves a Trotskyist. It doesn't mean that I don't think Trotsky wrote good stuff and did good stuff. The invasion of Ukraine, Trotsky, A+. Let me give you a medal. But like people who actually call themselves Trotskyists, they are one and the same as the anarchists in function. And this is one of those guys. He's 100% a socialist alternative member. I can tell from the accent. Whenever you see an article about how we need to unite with the Israeli working class, it's a Trotskyist. And this is one of those guys.
That's a bad guy. Hostile
Getting
eliminated.
completely fucked.
Let's watch the items video.
To existence a government agency.
And then speaking to the internet that we don't like to be spoken to, which is memes, actually.
The left can't meme.
Harris' campaign was trolling Trump.
They're already trolling him. He has been trying to troll the city back as much as he believes he's been trolled.
It's epic trolling, shall we say.
Just makes trolls like myself very happy.
I am become meme. Yeah, pretty much.
This was an epic troll. He's trolling the trolls, and it's so epic.
Master grade A trolling.
Eben. Oh my God, also sorry, Mozilla. Thank you for the 40 tickets. 20 and 20. Thank you. Liv, thank you, by the way, for the gift of this on. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really, really appreciate the generous subbies. Thank you so much. Chief Supreme, thank you for the 20 months.
A troll at the epic level.
Kind of epic. It's been, I think the word is epic. Elon Musk suggested this has been epic, and he's right.
Epic. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of iDubbbz Complains. Today, I'm going to be complaining about memes, being an edgelord, and trolling. But don't worry, if you partake in any of those activities, I'm going to give you a pass because I think you deserve it. Because we live in hell, and you deserve to
I hate this photo.
Let out steam in some ways. However, I don't think our president...
He may have been trolling you a little bit. We definitely noticed shortly.
Senators...
Just kind of like a God tier kind of trolling.
And journalists
Trump's trolling Trudeau. He's totally trolling him.
should be doing any of this. That's the only purpose of this video, is to air my grievances. The other day, I flipped on the news and I saw fucking Elon Musk with a chainsaw, and he was making some fucking noises. Chainsaw! I hesitate to even...
Why does he enunciate the A's that way and say...
And call them cringe noises, because we're beyond that. You know, we're not calling things cringe necessarily. There's almost some, like, authenticity in cringe. Anyway...
Do not... Listen. Whoa, 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 whoa. Fucking autism, do not, all right? Do not. Literally all of my friends that are funny as fuck, they're all autistic, okay? All right? Maybe I only have funny autistic friends. Maybe I don't have unfunny autistic friends, but like, I'm sorry. They're all funny as shit. They're way funnier than me. I'm really not funny. So that is not, do not. It's ableist to even suggest that the reason that he's unfunny is because he's autistic. Wrong. No. He's stimming a little on that A, but we don't claim it. Stop.
This got me thinking about the topic of memes and trolling. Trolling can be a funny little harmless joke that is emphasized in its unseriousness.
She has no vision, no idea. She has no solution. All she can say is Donald Trump.
Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump.
But then there's the other end of
dude, he's such a dude. He's so fucking content-brained, man. Fucking Trump. Like him doing this over the Kamala Harris saying Donald Trump. What a showman, dude. That guy needed to be, oh my God. Okay, sorry. I stand by the opinion that like in a perfect world, we would Truman show Donald Trump. Because he's very entertaining. I'm funny. I cannot for the life of me be funny over text. I have the opposite problem. There's good autism and bad autism. Good autism loves Sonic. Bad autism is a Nazi.
Spectrum, where you are never told whether something is serious or a joke or not.
Should I run again? You tell me.
And then that's also defined as trolling. We're kind of playing the meta irony game.
Usually people who do this though generally have bad dog takes like me, and are deliberate degenerates.
It's extremely painful in a world where we want to take our politicians seriously, but we also want to treat people like they're human and they're allowed to have human moments where they bring...
Get that photo off the screen.
A little levity to the situation.
I have to speak of inflation. I love these sounds. What's with these sounds? I'm trying to stay focused, but I'm very impressed with the VPs.
But I've sort of decided that politicians, they don't deserve that. Billionaires don't deserve that. And members of the media don't deserve that. I'll take it to its extreme even. Same shit goes for surgeons, cab drivers. If my life is even tangentially in your hands, you cannot make jokes. That goes...
Can you imagine your surgeon is like, what if I cut open an important artery? What if I as a troll? Should I do it? Guys, then he has like a crowd of people watching him perform open heart surgery. Guys, should I do it? Should I do it? No. And you know people in chat would be like, yeah, do it.
Triple for the president. And I think that's being nice, you know. I could have said quadruple, I said triple. It goes quadruple for Elon Musk. Not allowed to make jokes. If you're Elon Musk, this is what you're allowed to do. By the way,
you know what's amazing? There's enough conservatives that hate Elon Musk that this joke bangs regardless of who you are. The only person this joke doesn't bang for, the only type of person this joke doesn't bang for is like, you guys have seen like the Squidward dick and throat meme. Do you know what I'm talking about? That sounds really crazy, but like this one. Unless you're like that for Elon Musk, then the joke probably doesn't bang for you.
This is an example. I'm a YouTuber. I just said that, and someone's got to be wondering, like, is he serious? Does he really think that Elon Musk is pro? I'm going to be honest. That's about 50-50. Holy shit, I just realized Elon Musk is kind of built kind of like a bullfrog. Like, if you're going to be built like a bullfrog, croak a little bit. Actually, I think he would like that because isn't the Pepe like a frog? I might be a little bit out of touch here, but I don't know what the Pepe is. In fact, I call it the Pepe. Our first example.
We don't have a YouTuber from like 2010. What's a Pepe? What is the Pepe?
Example of trolling comes by way of Senator Ted Cruz.
With respect to Canada, I think the president is basically trolling Canada. I don't think anyone thinks they're
just like Senator Ted Cruz trolled Texas when he went to Cancun with his family and left his dog. Epic troll.
There's a realistic prospect that Canada will become part of the United States. It was an epic troll.
If he was commenting on the Problapeno and he said, "Now that's an epic troll," I would get it. I would be like, yes, we got one of the OGs. But that's not what he said.
But I will say it was an epic troll, and I actually think on the merits there are very strong reasons why that makes sense for the United States. Geopolitically, Greenland's location on the Arctic is incredibly important. With Russia or China, any ICBMs would come over the Arctic targeting the United States. Greenland is ideally situated to defend America. Vast resources of critical earth and rare earth minerals that are essential for semiconductors, for electronics, for military equipment.
But Greenland at this point is not for sale, so why stake that as such a top priority?
Well, because anything can be not for sale until it suddenly is.
That's all, folks. Fucking freak.
Anything can be not for sale until it suddenly is.
That's just rape brain. You realize that, like, this is someone else's culture, this is someone else's land, this is someone else's country. This is not yours. None of it belongs to you. You can't be like, well, everyone has a price. I know we're in America. A lot of you are going to be sympathetic to it. You're taught in your door-to-door salesman class, you got to take 5 no's before it actually means yes.
So when President Trump said he might use economic or military coercion, what does that mean? What is military
I don't remember him saying military coercion.
He did.
We have enough shit to worry about. We do not need to like fuck with allied countries and suggest that their culture, their country, their security isn't important. It's fucking stupid. It's so unprofessional. And that's coming from iDubbbz.
He's mastered that art of trolling, that art of saying and doing things to cause his opponents to completely lose their cool. And Trump's cabinet picks are the perfect illustration of both his deal-making prowess and his troll talent.
You're a dork. All of these people, pretty much everyone that I'm going to show in this video, that's the best word to describe them is just fucking dorks. They are 20 years behind in using the language that they're using.
They said, I'm the GOAT.
I'm the captain now. Look at this. He reposted this edited spot.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I know this is like off topic to the content of this video. However, put down the put down the eye pencil. Girl, put it down, okay? You don't have any black eyebrows. You don't have a single black eyebrow. You don't have a single black hair on your head. You cannot use straight fucking black eyeliner on your fucking waterline. You look weird. Put down the pencil. Put it down. Oh my foul beast.
Posted this edited SpongeBob meme.
And they're tremendously unserious. It's like, yeah, this would be a little cringe to hear